Hey guys, it's Bianna. Welcome back to my channel. We back at it again with another video. So, the subject of this video is the key or the keys to letting go and how to feel your feelings. So, I recently thought about this at the top of my head because I'm currently purging and letting go of a lot of things, and one of the things that happened in my head, like one of the messages that came up in my head, was acceptance, surrendering, letting go. And I was like, what the fuck does this even mean? So the more that I kind of went about life, the more that the answers started to come to me. So really the key to letting go, and this is like your major key. I will say there's two major keys actually. Number one is acceptance, and number two is feeling your feelings. So let's start off with acceptance, right? I used to think whenever I heard the word acceptance, it kind of was like a defeat, because I was the type of person that would try every single solution. I would try really hard. I would go through plans A through Z before I could even be like, okay, whatever, I surrender or I accept. I saw it as kind of like a giving up. I couldn't really find the solution to what I really wanted. But in fact, acceptance is a little bit more powerful and greater than that. So when it comes to surrendering and acceptance, the biggest thing is to let it be. And I know this can be very hard, especially when we live in a society in which the constant message is you have to work hard for what you want, and you have to try every single solution. If you want a job, then you have to apply to every single job until one finally says yes, right? And that is the opposite of what you should do, right? Not like for that specific case, but when it comes to letting things go, letting people go, let it be. You need to learn, number one, you did everything that you could. I think that's the biggest thing. When you learn that you could have done everything that you could, you finally release that burden and that expectation on you, one. But also number two, when you learn to, oh, sorry, my candle just went off. When you learn to let things be, let it, let things be, let that person be. Number one, you stop having such a high expectation of a particular outcome. Number two, you don't put pressure on that person, on that situation, which then adds on to your frustration, because you may have a particular mindset of how you want things to go, and the way that you'll feel better is if it goes in that particular way, right? And you start to put a lot of pressure subconsciously. You put that into the universe, the energy out into the universe of this is how it has to be in order for you to be happy, when in actuality you start to become blind to the best possible outcome that there really is for you, because in your mind you think that this is the best way, but in actuality there are better ways, and the universe knows that, because the universe will deliver you the best thing that you could possibly ask for in the best possible way. I hope that makes sense. So when you accept things and you let them be, let people be, you don't put this pressure on them, which will then make them run. But also, you don't put them on this pedestal. I had a big thing with putting people on pedestals, where I wanted people to be the best that they can be, and I still do. But it would get to the point where I would see all these people's flaws, and I'll be like, This is something you need to work on. This is a weakness. Turn it into a strength, or whatever the case may be. And in my mind, I thought that I was accepting, but in actuality, I was not accepting. And whenever there would be some conflict that would happen, I would constantly be like, hey, like, this is the issue, fix it, right? I wouldn't say it exactly like that, but in my mind, it's like, this is what the problem is, so therefore you have to fix it. But if I would have just accepted that person for who they truly were and accepting their detriments, then I could have taken a step back and reevaluated, okay, well, since this is the problem, is this something that I'm willing to tolerate? Is this something that I should have in my immediate circle? And if the answer is no, then at that moment, I fall back and I loosen my expectations on that person. So I feel like a lot of the times what needs to happen is loosening your expectations, lowering your expectations, learning to just accept things, accept people for who they are. And that can be very hard. I feel like a lot of the time we have this ideal of what we would like a person to be. And what becomes the problem is that we never actually get to see that person for who they are. And we start to, again, like I said, subconsciously hold higher pressures onto that person, which is unfair to that person because that person deserves to be seen and understood for exactly who they are by you. And it's a detriment to you because now you are deluding yourself. And when you delude yourself, when that person never matches up to what you have in mind, you're upset, you're frustrated, it leads to resentment, and now you're both heartbroken. So acceptance is such a powerful thing because it grounds you in reality. Accept the facts. The faster that you do this, I promise you, the easier that it will be to just let things be. And that's something that I'm currently learning. There's a lot of things that I see, a lot of people that I interact with, a lot of situations that I get put in, and the old me would have tried to do everything possible to avoid a particular outcome, to try to protect myself and my ego and my heart, when in actuality now I'm a lot more wiser. I have a lot more coping strategies. I have a lot more tools to actually ensure that if the worst quote unquote possible outcome was going to happen, that I would be okay, And I feel like that's another thing that tends to happen, is that we would try to protect ourselves from situations, from people and things. And of course, it's very important to be protective of your energy. I'm not saying allow anybody and everybody into your energy, because that's not the case. However, I feel like for me, whenever it came to just situations, I would put people on a pedestal because I didn't want to face the reality. Because at the time, maybe whenever I was 12 years old, maybe I had a crush on this guy, and I thought oh yeah, he's eventually going to like me, and he's gonna see me for who I am, and we're gonna be together, and yeah, he's gonna finally see my worth. But that was me putting up a defense mechanism to save myself from being hurt, at least not feeling the full extent of my feelings. And that was a disservice to me. So if you have this delusion that you put up constantly with other people, one of the biggest reasons why you may be doing that is because you're trying to protect yourself. And you might be protecting yourself because back then, when I say back then, maybe in childhood, maybe when you were a teenager, whatever the case may be, you didn't have the tools to be emotionally mature and emotionally secure to help you cope and help you deal with your emotions. You didn't have the tools. You're not going to have the tools. And sometimes you'll have parents that know tools, and sometimes you don't have parents that know tools. I fell under the bucket where my parents did not know tools, so a lot of this I had to figure out by myself. But because I didn't have the tools, I tried putting up all these defense mechanisms to try to save myself. When in actuality, the best thing that I could have done was just accept what it was, accept that the guy didn't like me. It had nothing to do with my worth. And actually feel what I need to feel and let it go. And that's just that. So, sorry, I'm looking at like my notes right now. I'm trying to make sure if I'm missing anything. Yeah, so whenever it comes to like putting people on pedestals or like just in general, like not accepting things for what they are, you set yourself up for failure. And one of my biggest mottos in life is don't sit here and think that nobody's going to hurt you. There is going to be somebody that's going to hurt you. But you're not going to have faith that, oh yeah, you're not going to hurt me. You should have faith in the fact that if that person does hurt you, you have the strength, the courage, the grace, the fierceness to just pick yourself up and move on. That's how we should be living life. And a lot of people in this world put all these protective defense mechanisms because in actuality what they're really saying is, I don't have the tools, I don't have the bravery to deal with what I need to deal with and move on. I don't have the tools to, or strength or courage or bravery to move on. And one thing about me, I ain't no pussy. No. I have the strength, and I will continue to find the strength, and I will continue to keep my heart pure and move on. So that's like the keys to like move on, accept, let go, surrender. That's one of them. But the second one is super important, which is feeling your feelings. I feel like in this society, right, we have a lot of people who are now starting to go on their healing journey, which I think is a very beautiful thing. I'm so happy that a lot of people are finally going on their healing journey. And we have people like the Wizard Liz, Dakota Cross, Leo Skeppy that sit there and they talk to you and they give you intellectual wisdom. And while knowledge is power, don't get me wrong, right? At the end of the day, you will never, ever, ever truly solve your problems and get to the root of what is truly bothering you through knowledge. It's just not going to work. It will help, but at the end of the day, you're kind of delaying the inevitable. So last video, I talked about Pink and how Pink really kind of like made me super angry, and I was going through all these things. So what I did was I bought a book. I have this book right here with me right now. Check it out if you're a reader. Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. This is a really, really good book. But this helped me put a lot of friendships and people into perspective. And this was like one of those self-help books. I felt like I needed help letting go, and like maybe if I found the answers here. And a lot of the things that I was thinking as to what the problem were definitely got validated in this book. But I didn't feel any better. I was still angry. I thought I was making progress, but I was still angry. And the reason why I was still angry is because I feel like in this society, we're so focused on being analytical, being intellectual. We're so like, well, this is this. And while words can be comforting, I think what really needs to happen is us feeling our feelings, which involves feeling your body. Perfect example is anxiety, right? We don't say I think anxiety. We say I feel anxiety, right? And feelings of anxiety manifest for different people. Maybe they have shaky hands. Maybe there's a tightness in their chest and their heart rate starts to pick up. It gets hard to breathe. Maybe they feel knots in their stomach, right? Or anger, right? You kind of feel hot. You may feel like your blood is like boiling, but it's not actually boiling. You might notice a change in your breath where beforehand you weren't really thinking about breathing, but now when you're angry, your breathing becomes a little bit more heavier because like I assume that because you're so angry, you need more oxygen so you can calm down. I don't know, girl. I'm just talking. But sadness, right? Sometimes we might get choked up in our throat. Sometimes we might get really like a heaviness in our chest, right? And in actuality, those are your feelings, if that makes sense. That's your body trying to tell you, hey, this is what I'm feeling. So it's your job to be a vessel, be one with your body, and allow those feelings to flow. So if you're sad, you cry. If you're angry, you scream, you shout, you punch. If you're feeling anxious, you take deep breaths. Feeling your feelings is all about feeling your body. And there's different ways that you can go ahead and allow yourself to allow feelings to pass by. If you have a heavy chest, like I tend to do, you can just get your hand, place it on your heart, and just say something simple, a cute little affirmation. I feel you, I see you, I understand you. Take some deep breaths, drink some water, and then just keep breathing, and eventually the feeling will pass. I think that's the key to feeling your feelings. It's actually letting yourself feel your body sensations and finding a way to let it pass. I actually saw a TikTok a while ago. I would tag that person, but that means I have to go back and look for it, and I saw that video a long time ago. But it was basically this person talking about how whenever it comes to people who are super self-aware, right? Super self-aware, they go into therapy and they're like, yeah, this is the problem, and that's the problem. And the therapist will be like, wow, you're super self-aware, right? That person doesn't need to go to therapy, quote unquote, because they already know what the issue is. So what they need to do is actually go to a soma therapy, some sort of way where they actually get to move their body and allow those feelings to pass through. Because 9 times out of 10, you're intellectualizing your emotions and you're not allowing them to pass. So you may think that, oh yeah, like I'm processing them, but it's still gonna bother you. Versus if you just cry it out, if you just scream it out, if you just breathe it out, it's never gonna pop up again. And even if it does pop up again, it's not going to be as intense. So, the other thing that I would like to mention, and this goes back into the acceptance, which is that sometimes whenever it comes to people especially, the key to acceptance also is to realize that sometimes it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you, your triggers, and the things that you grew up with. And in order for you to accept and heal and move on and let go, you have to dig deep and go to the root, go to the source and dig. So with me, it was with Pink, right? I felt like Pink never really listened to me, constantly invalidated my feelings, and it frustrated me because everything was about Pink, 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 and I was constantly being casted to the side, and I would grow angry. And eventually I kind of realized, wait, like, this is actually really familiar. This is something that my mother does, actually. My mother constantly would dismiss my feelings and X, Y, and Z. And I guess I was becoming a little bit more triggered with Pink because that kind of just added on to whatever misconception that I had before, which was that I don't deserve to be heard, I don't deserve to be misunderstood, and it added on to my anger. So whenever I finally just dealt with the problem from the source, not looking at it from Pink, because Pink was just merely a reflection of what the real problem was. And the real problem was me having some, I guess, pent up feelings and resentment and things that I haven't really dealt with whenever it came to my mom, whenever it came to my dad, whenever it came to my family dynamic. When you sit here and you be honest with yourself and you analyze your family dynamic, at least for me, that's what it was. Because some people may have a great family dynamic and this could have manifested in their friendships that caused them to feel a certain type of way and build a certain type of attachment style, whatever the case may be. But for me, it was my parents. 9 times out of 10, it's going to stem out of childhood, in my opinion. And when you dig deep and you deal with it from the source. So for me, it was my mom constantly dismissing my feelings and how it made me feel. It made me feel ashamed. It made me feel guilt. It made me feel like what I had to say didn't matter. And once I started to heal myself and be like, no, what I do have to say matters. I do deserve to be seen. I do deserve to be heard. And sit there with myself. Naturally, my anger with Pink started to resolve because it really never had anything to do with Pink. It had everything to do with my family dynamic. So that is some insight for you guys. So, is there anything else that I would like to say? I think that's all. So, here you guys go. The keys to acceptance, how to let go, how to feel your feelings. So, please like, share, subscribe, smash that like button, share this with your friends, leave a little comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Do you think I'm just talking a bunch up? Let me chill out. So, yeah. I'll see you guys next time.